It's just inconceivable. I don't know why those bears chased him down. Speaking of moists, I really feel like White Fang was not his best novel. I'm not into that bohemian thing. Welcome to New Hope Theater. Hello, I'm Darren Hanson, and welcome to New Hope Theater. We have another incredible masterpiece for you tonight. So be prepared for your eyes to feast upon some amazing cinema, for your ears to be tickled by incredible music. Sit down in your chair, get out the popcorn, and pay attention to the genius of this director. His mission is juxtaposition in this particular film. It is in this film in which I find myself wanting to engage and indulge myself into the movie scene. It is through this film of where I have decided that art is truly art. Then the Pharisees went and plotted how to entangle him in his words. Hey guys, what are we gonna do here? Jesus, he's a big threat, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, he's a big threat. We're gonna do something. Let's entangle him in his words. What does that even mean? What does that even mean, like entangle him in his words? I don't know, maybe we should just entangle him. Hey, did someone say entangle him? I've got the thing to do just the trick. No, you donkey fool. We don't mean entangling with rope. Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. Been losing my balance lately. Anyway, we're going to entangle him with his words. Yeah, that's right. Let's entangle him with his words. Not sure what that even means, but let's go do it. Hey, has anyone ever seen those other guys around? They said they were going to help us with stuff like this. Yep. What are their names anyway? I can't remember their names. Hey guys, pizza for the Herodians? Oh yeah, that was their name. Herodians. Where are those guys? Here we are. Pizza, we had pizza. Oh, okay, that'll be at 10:43. All right, here's your, keep the change. There you go. Thank you very much. I'll eat it later. So, what are we doing? Well, we're gonna go trap that guy, Jesus, in his with the words. We're gonna entangle him. Let's go. All right, let's go. So one of the Herodians stepped forward and said, Teacher, we know that you are true, and you teach the way of God truthfully, and you do not care about anyone else's opinion, for you are not swayed by appearances. Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? He's not going to be able to answer that. Jesus, aware of their malice, said, Why put me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin for the tax. And they brought him a denarius. Here you go, Jesus. Wow. Where were you guys keeping this? Oh, well, anyway. And Jesus said to them, Whose likeness and inscription is this? They said, Caesar's. Caesar's? Looks a little bit like George Washington. Who's George Washington? Jesus said, never mind. Anyway, Jesus said to them, Therefore render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. Ooh, burn those Herodians. Yeah, those Pharisees don't know what's going on. When they heard it, they marveled, shook their heads. They left him, and they went away. Yay, Jesus! Yay! Yay! I wondered if they realized I still have their coin. Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome to Built to Last, Lesson 2. Hope you had a great time with New Hope Theater right there. We had a great time doing it. Now, we are in Matthew chapter 22 is what we're going to look at today for this lesson. Matthew 22, verses 15 through 22. I want you to think about the subject matter at hand. It's called Jesus and Politics. Now, right away, just by hearing that name, I'm sure that you're ready to discuss. Because our mind instantly goes, when we hear the word politics, it instantly goes to what kind of society we live in today in America in 2020. It's so politically charged that people are on two sides, it seems like, maybe even more sides, but two definite sides when it comes to politics. And we can even be in the room with each other and have some great discussion about all sorts of things. But someone told me a long time ago, you should never bring up politics or religion with people unless you want to fight. And that seems like it's such a difficult subject for us to approach in the church. And there's all sorts of reasons for that. But I want to get us on task for this lesson, because when you hear those words, your mind goes everywhere. But we want to look specifically about Jesus and politics. How did Jesus deal with politics? I mean, we would be amiss if we didn't think that his society at the time that he lived in was not politically charged as well. I mean, there were people on all sorts of different sides of an issue. Not only that, but they were living under a military oppressor in the Roman Empire. So there were plenty of people around Jesus who he grew up with, who were politically active, who were trying to overthrow the Roman government. Some of them doing it with violence, some of them doing it with trying to use law, some of them with silent protest. There was a lot going on in Jesus' day. And it's interesting when you get into the Gospels that there are very few passages actually you can even look at to maybe even discern Jesus' position on any sort of political stance. And this Matthew passage, Matthew 22, 15 through 22, is one that's often quoted. And that's kind of why we're dealing with it in relation to what does Jesus say about politics. So how did Jesus deal with politics? Did he deal with politics? So as we look at Matthew 22, it's interesting because in the end, this interaction that Jesus has with the Pharisees and Herodians at this point, with the coin and taxes, it's interesting. The Message version actually says at the very end of that passage that everybody walked away shaking their heads, not sure exactly what just happened in that interaction with Jesus. And I don't want to repeat everything because you've already watched the story. You've hopefully going to read the story together as you start with discussion. But I want to kind of bring your attention to the idea that possibly we might be shaking our heads too after we get done with this encounter with Jesus and start to understand a little bit maybe about Jesus and politics. This is a great chance for discussion for your group. But I really would love for you to be thinking about this, not trying to get into a modern discussion about politics in our day and age, even though I know some that might come up. But I want you to be really seriously considering this passage in Matthew 22 that we're looking at, and also maybe other scriptures that you might know of that you can bring into the discussion of really trying to examine Jesus. And Jesus' ministry was powerful in so many different kinds of ways. And the things that we can learn from him are obvious there in the scripture when it comes to how he treated individuals, how he loved individuals, how he confronted individuals, how he confronted immorality, how he confronted bad motives. And there just really isn't a lot when we think of him challenging in this big stage kind of way in a political movement. In fact, he was the one that said, when people wanted to make him political king, he's the one that said no. He refused to allow it to distract him from the cross. Now, these are just a few ideas that I'm bringing to you here. I'm not an expert on anything, that's for sure. None of us are. But I want you to honestly have a really good discussion about who Jesus is, and maybe how Jesus might look at our politics today. I'm not saying we should avoid that conversation entirely, but I think what we should do is have an honest conversation about how Jesus might instruct us today to live our lives in a world that's so politically charged like his? And is it possible that so many of these things can be distractions that lead us away from doing the will of God?